Alrighty, welcome back everyone to our final session of the day, where we will be talking about empowering your ridership and how technology can unlock mobility's potential. Spare's co-founders will share with us the impact of Spare's mobility management platform and different use cases of its software, and broach the larger topic of how it is leveraging openness and connectivity to remove tech barriers. Please note that we will not be doing a Q&A as part of this session, but if you do have questions, please note them down and join us at the end of the day for our Spare co-founders Ask Me Anything session, taking place at 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern. And now to introduce our speakers. Once again, we'll have Christopher, Spare's CEO, joining us. We will also be joined by Josh Andrews, another UBC graduate and Spare co-founder. Josh is the COO of Spare and leads our company's product development and operations teams. Josh brings years of experience in delivering real-world innovation to mobility. And I will tell you this, Josh is driven by customer feedback, and I'm so excited to see some upcoming product features today. Please welcome Christopher and Josh.
Thanks, Luke. And thanks to whoever has been the DJ for this event. I've truly enjoyed all of the great tunes. Cool. I see you're sharing your screen, Josh, so I'll let you be my screen sharer. Cool. All right. This has been a huge week for us at Spare for a couple of reasons. So I want to take this opportunity to speak directly with you. Since we started Spare, we've been incredibly focused on building a fast and delightful way to launch and scale any number of mobility services. Every week, we're releasing new functionality, new updates, and enhancements to the product experience, enabling more performance services that generally make your mobility business easier to run. We're doing this in order to support this massive change happening right now globally within mobility. As I touched in my opening segment, traditionally we've seen on the private side, taxi and multi-day shipping experience have become more and more personal and differentiated, with all electric new ride-sharing companies coming out and same-day delivery providing convenient access in the mobility space. On the public side, we're seeing this incredible shift in public transit agents serving their customers better in building for the future of mobility. They're no longer primarily identified as just fixed route providers. While fixed route is an incredible important part of this future, we're seeing this massive change from these people being fixed route providers to what's called mobility providers. This means folding in many other forms of mobility and elevating the existing experience, such as paratransit. This is really exciting for us at Spare because it represents an opportunity for us to be part of this change. We often, though, get asked, what is this shift really moving towards? So we thought it'd be a great opportunity to coin a term. The internet went from Web 1 to Web 2 and soon to Web 3 with blockchain and decentralized ownership as its new foundation, as Tina talked about in her session. I think mobility is seeing the same transformation that the internet saw 20 years ago. So we at Spare are going to be calling it Mobility 2.0 from here onwards. And Spare is building the first operating system for Mobility 2.0. In just a few minutes, Josh here will be sharing with you how we've been enabling Mobility 2.0 around the world and what we are building for you to empower your riders over the next year. But first, I wanted to share some exciting news for us. Just this week, we're announcing our $18 million Series A financing led by Inovia Capital, a world-class in venture capital. But we didn't raise this money to just create yet another mobility software company. So I'm going to hand it over to Josh now to discuss where we're going from here.
Thanks so much, Christopher. That's really exciting and honestly quite difficult to follow up with. So I'll do my best. But yeah, today I wanted to talk about some of the incredible services that people are operating with Spare around the world and the impact that they're having on the people that they serve. And I also wanted to share a little bit about what we're working on at Spare over the next year and some of the really cool products that we'll be developing in order to help mobility businesses of all kinds build better services in 2022. So I'm going to break this down into kind of three main segments here, three main segments of our business, which is specialized and paratransit services, micro transit services, and then private mobility services. And it's worth noting that these three main segments, while they're different, they also share a lot of the same principles. So the products and the features that we'll be developing and have developed for these are not necessarily unique to just one area of the business. You might hear things from a vertical that maybe you're not focused on and think, hey, like I could totally use that. And you're actually probably right. It's one platform. And so all these new products and features will be available to everyone. We're excited to be rolling this out, but I will be separating it kind of into these core areas just to give a bit more focus. It is also a lot of content. I don't have too much time, so please bear with me on this, and I'll try to do my best to deliver this. So I want to start out, as I mentioned, with specialized and paratransit services. And over the last year, we've seen incredible growth from these services, both as our business, but also within the services that we operate. And we've seen that transit agencies around the world have been looking to build really the next generation of these specialized mobility services on Spare. And they're doing so by offering really never before seen user experiences to their riders. And we see user experience as meaning a lot of things. It really is everything from applying and getting approved for paratransit eligibility to how available your service actually is, all the way to on-time performance, and really the quality and the experience of even the vehicles that are operating in your fleet. And so it expands really the entire life cycle of the rider journey. And it's something that we've looked at as we're developing our product to work to improve each step of. And over the last year, we've been really busy in introducing some really cool new ways to operate these specialized and paratransit services in order to drive a much better customer experience, and also at the same time to dramatically improve efficiency and cut the cost down quite a bit. And so we started this by really introducing this concept that we've mentioned a lot today called commingling. And it's really a revolutionary concept when it's applied to these real-time mobility services. Because as a fleet provider, you're always looking at, how do I get the most out of my fleet? And that's a really core goal of a lot of fleet providers out there. And so commingling of services really lets you do exactly this and get a lot out of your fleet by layering in all these different service types like microtransit and paratransit onto a single fleet of vehicles. And by being able to introduce this, we've seen this become very transformative for many of the services that we operate. And we actually just heard from some panels that were on specifically just this. So it's really cool to see this across the industry. And a great example of this, I do want to mention briefly here, and we've mentioned them before as well today, but a great example is Citybus, which is a transit agency down in Lubbock, Texas, who relaunched their paratransit and commingled microtransit service with Spare. And they witnessed an 80% increase in their passengers per vehicle hour, or PPVH, with a really quick and swift ramp-up period of just 4 weeks, despite COVID-19. And through commingling, they were also able to save on average $3 per trip versus the legacy system. And so the approach essentially allowed Citybus to expand their microtransit service and then fill in the gaps that were caused by cuts to their fixed route timetables that happened because of COVID-19. And we really only see this trend of commingling picking up in 2022, with many big transit redesigns happening really around the world, but especially as well in North America, that are moving this way within the redesign. And paratransit services in general are incredibly important to us, and we're really excited over the next year to be providing many product improvements and working with many agencies around the world to help provide even better services for your riders. And I want to talk about one area of this, one part of the product that we're quite focused on, and probably the most complicated part of our product as well, and maybe the most difficult to talk about, called Spare Engine. And for those of you that don't know, Spare Engine is really the core of our routing and matching system at Spare. And it's used for basically like every single trip request that comes into the system. A trip request comes in, Spare Engine will evaluate that request against thousands, hundreds of thousands of different options that it could be placed on a vehicle, and then it will pick the very best vehicle at that time and make a really good decision for optimizing both the service quality and the rider's experience. It's a very complicated optimization problem. We spent a lot of time over the years optimizing Engine, as it really leads to some of the biggest performance improvements to services that run on Spare. And so over the next year, we are taking this even further, and I'm really excited about this. We'll be bringing many enhancements over how we match trips and optimize those trips, and we'll be doing that in an ongoing basis with a new feature that we're calling continuous optimization. And with continuous optimization, you should be able to define basically how you want the system to run in advance. And then you just let the system do all the heavy lifting in real time to continually optimize based on the business rules that you set up front. And there's basically a lot of big words there, I know, and in more human terms, what this means is that the system will just continue to make your driver manifest better over time. It will never stop. Even after a match might happen, we still might look at finding performance optimizations. We also do know that automation might not get it right 100% of the time, although I think it's pretty close to that. But maybe not 100% of the time. So we'll also be giving more tools over the next year to help you manage exceptions if they do happen in the system. So beyond this, I'm very excited about continuous optimization, but beyond this, we're also investing across the board in how you manage your fleets. This is everything from third-party fleet providers that you can now start adding with the click of a button, to also many more sophisticated controls that help you improve the commingling of your trips. I'm also very excited. I know many people here might be excited about this, but we'll be introducing some really neat new powerful features around managing driver breaks. So stay tuned for those. Another really important and exciting part of the product that some people may have actually seen recently, and I'm quite confident everybody here might be excited for this one, is that we're bringing a brand new web-based booking experience for our riders. And this new experience is really incredible. It's not just a simple booking website. It's really built on this architecture that enables it to be just as powerful and have every feature that the native app experience has for riders. And it's basically taking all of that and putting it on the web browser for both mobile and desktop. It really blows me away every time I use it. And we're going to be, actually, it's so cool. We'll be publishing a technical blog post on it pretty soon. I've got to inform the engineering team of that, but we'll be writing a really cool blog post on it. And it's going to be a really big shift for these types of services, and bringing them online, we think will just help to deliver that service to people that might not otherwise have a smartphone. And I'm really excited to get this into the hands of many riders all around the world. So this is just a little taste of what we'll be working on and what I think will really benefit specifically the specialized and paratransit side of the house over the next year. But there's a lot more. So this is just a taste of it. So please do stay tuned for updates from our product team on all the things that we're talking about today as we continue to roll out these features for everyone over the next year. So next up, I want to talk about microtransit. And I like to think back to 2015, when we actually first launched our carpooling service right here where I am in Vancouver, Canada. And this was what I considered to be the first microtransit service that we launched. We had a lot of drivers on the road. We were matching riders to those drivers. It became a very big service. I won't get into too much detail of how the technology that was actually running that service. It was quite basic back then. We've come a very, very long way. And today, microtransit is actually the largest segment of our business. And we've seen tremendous success with these services to date. We've seen really some amazing things get built with microtransit, everything from first last mile services that are deeply integrated into transit app, all the way to smaller converted dial rides that serve basically entire communities. We've also seen microtransit go from just kind of this kind of nugget of an idea into becoming a critical piece to many transportation infrastructures for cities, really, really big parts of these cities' infrastructure. And a great example, and one that we've heard from today actually, is Dallas Area Rapid Transit in Dallas, Texas, where DART has essentially launched this incredible first last mile multimodal microtransit experience with Spare, and it's called GoLink. And there's actually a service expansion currently underway. You can see here on the map. This service expansion will actually enable this service become the biggest microtransit service in the world in just 1 month's time. And so increasing the GoLink service here was a really core part of a transit system redesign that was aimed at dramatically reducing the travel times for people in Dallas while also increasing the service coverage. It's kind of the pinnacle of what we're looking for with these transit service redesigns. And another really neat thing with this service is that it's fully integrated into the GoPass app, which is an experience that is managed actually directly by DART. And so this deep integration utilizes really the best of Spare Open API, and it shows also what's possible when building on an open platform. So this is really just what's possible to develop when you take something that's open and you can build on top of it. And we'll be talking more about that in a minute. But in general, I'm just always blown away by what people can create and also what we can do by building on top of Spare. So over the last year, we've also launched many core features that help you create incredibly differentiated services on Spare. And we're taking this even further over the next year with more complex service parameters and more customization over these service parameters. And also the ability to create new travel zone patterns between various different microtransit zones or any transit zones for that matter. It's really gonna be quite cool what types of services you can now create. We're even going to allow you to get a bit more specific with where you want your vehicles to be and allow you to start launching deviated fixture out services as well on the product. We'll be pairing all this added complexity. It's often difficult to then present this in a nice way, but we'll be pairing this with an improved user experience as well that will make it basically easier than ever to get a new operation off the ground. And so in essence, if you do have an idea for something you want to create or some type of service you want to bring into the world, you will be able to do it with Spare. And if you think you can't, please come to me first, because I'm pretty sure you can. And if you truly can't, then we'll figure out how to make that happen inside the product. So it's very exciting times. I'm really excited to get all these new features off the ground. Many of you know this already as well, but we've recently released a full end-to-end multimodal experience inside of our native rider application called Spare Rider. And this means that essentially your riders can plan their entire journey, including fixed routes and buses and trains, everything using your own agency app. It's really neat, and it's something that I've been excited about for years. I truly believe that the discoverability part of microtransit is probably the core issue facing the services today. And essentially end-to-end journey planning is the only true solution to that problem. So we'll be rolling this out to more places over the next year, but definitely get in touch if it's something that interests you. We've got many, many more exciting things planned for the microtransit space over the coming years. So please do stay tuned. This is really just the tip of the iceberg for us. The last thing I want to talk about today, as I mentioned, is private mobility services. And so this part of our business is, we launched it in the middle of kind of 2020, which you might think is a weird time to launch, private, a new mobility segment. It was really during what some call peak COVID. But call it what you will, but we did see a great opportunity at this time to provide a foundation for profitable mobility businesses that are kind of private businesses. And if you've been around for some of our other sessions today, you actually will have heard from one of them, Earth Rides, Raven at Earth Rides, who's providing an all-electric ride hail service in Nashville and Austin. It's really cool. If you're ever in those cities, I highly recommend trying it out. But over the last year, we've been excited to see the growth of these services on Spare, and it's been massive, the growth that they've seen even during these quite difficult times. It's I mean, we look at this graph here, you can see that little blip there, which was the onset of COVID-19, but then quickly these services have grown, and it's truly mind-boggling just how much they've been able to do in the last year, and how much the communities have really adopted these services. And this is just another quick example here of seeing some of our Canadian ride hail services. And you can see they're very fast growth, and also only improving their service quality over time. And as an entrepreneur myself, it's truly humbling to see these incredible entrepreneurs that are building such incredible new businesses with Spare. And we, as a product and as a team, we take this responsibility incredibly seriously. And so we're investing very strongly in this segment over the next year as well. We see that also private mobility operators are becoming really a key part of many public mobility services, as we had a segment on earlier today as well. And we want to continue to connect these two sides of the marketplace and build really what we see as the best possible experiences for riders around the world in this interconnected ecosystem of mobility providers. And we've been busy supporting these new verticals here at Spare. And over the last year, we built some really cool new features. Some of them I'll mention here, which are customizable tipping policies. This was something that quickly became a really obvious need in this private space for us. We've also vastly improved our non-dedicated driver experience and plan to be doing a lot more over this in the next year. And we've done countless other things as well. And in the next year, we're really doing, as I mentioned, quite a bit more. We'll be improving how you manage the fundamentals of your business, all the way down to how you collect and manage your revenue versus expenses. We'll also be improving the rider user experience to make it more customizable for your exact specific needs. We know that every service is unique, and we want to make sure that we can accommodate the different types of services you're trying to deliver to your riders. We're also working to get more out of your vehicles. And I mentioned this before, but I think it's really important here for private as well. where we look at kind of how can we do revenue optimization from commingling all these different types of services and service levels, and how can we make it so that essentially you can sit back as the system just continues to optimize and drive revenue for your business. So continuous optimization, which is the main tool that we mentioned before, it'll be a really powerful tool for you to do this, and I'm really excited to get it into your hands next few months here. We're also working really for every vertical to give more exposure into how your riders are riding your services, and also to improve your understanding so that you can optimize your rider's journey. We know that there's different types of goals, and there's many objectives you might have for what you're trying to bring to your riders, and we want to make sure that you can see that and understand how that's going, and the sentiment of everything from sentiment of your riders to how they're working, and how the kind of app workflow is working for them. So it's really our core goal, in summary here, to make it continually easier to run efficient and in many cases profitable mobility services that your riders and that your customers love. And we're excited to be bringing these improvements to basically all service types over the next year. And just before I hand it back to Christopher here, I want to briefly talk about what it really means for Spare to become a mobility operating system. We've been using these words a lot, and I think it's a bit tricky to really fully grasp it, and I think it's going to take some time for even us to fully communicate this, but I'll give it a go right now, and I'll try to give a brief explanation before I hand it back to Christopher. So many of the things that I've talked about are really enablers for public and private transportation providers of all kinds to build these efficient and profitable mobility businesses using Spare. But as Spare continues to grow and provide more and more functionality, we're seeing it actually become our role to be the foundation for these mobility services. And if you're building a house, a foundation is not too useful without having some sort of building on top of it, and being able to extend that foundation to something that's more. And so for the next year, we're going to be introducing some really cool new ways that you can then build on top of Spare. And this will be beyond what we're already doing with our open API. I think we were really kind of the first to the market with providing that in the mobility space. We're expanding on that with open fleets, which is a great new way to connect any type of fleet to Spare. And we'll be going even further than that to connect many more different aspects of running and managing a business into the platform. And what this really comes down to is it becomes kind of Spare being the hub of your operations, and really the operating system that then connects these different pieces together. So we'll be diving into a lot more details here over the next year. I did want to just quickly prime that just so people can get excited about it, but definitely stay tuned as we release some really, really cool new features that help you build on top of Spare in the new year. So fundamentally, in summary, we really believe that there's incredible potential in these mobility services. It's something that I'm personally incredibly excited about. And we see this from everything, from private companies all the way to the world's largest transit agencies. And we generally believe this potential can really only be unlocked if we create just great user experiences that also very efficiently utilize your resources and bring down costs. And that we do all of this while providing a safe and consistent and equitable user experience for your riders. So we're really excited to make this a reality for hundreds of new cities and companies and businesses over the next year. I'll end it there, and hopefully this was a good sneak peek into where Spare's product is going over the next few months and over the next year. So I'll hand it back to Christopher.
Thanks, Josh. Seems like you're going to be pretty busy over the next year.
I will be.
Thanks, Josh, and thanks for walking us through that. That's super cool. First of all, I just to kind of wrap this whole summit up, I just want to thank everyone for being part of this inaugural Spare Move Summit. We wouldn't be here without so many people on the call. We put a lot of love into this event, and I'm so happy to see it kind of pan out in this incredible way. I want to thank all of our speakers who were part of this summit. It's been incredible to hear your stories and learnings, and I hope that this great learning opportunity was great for many of the people listening in. We're super, as Josh mentioned, we're just incredibly excited to turn Spare into the world's most open mobility operating system, a backbone for transit and mobility providers anywhere. We really believe that building a powerful mobility operating system is really what makes us all excited. One that doesn't actually require you to drive your own vehicle, one that's interconnected, and one that's equitable. The next chapter chapter at Spare will enable us to build a team up and the many critical products that we can deliver to you as our partner. The only reason we made it here today is because of our incredible team around the world. Changing the face of mobility is far from easy. In fact, it's really, really hard. but this team has done this and way beyond. I am personally humbled to be working with so many incredibly talented people on our team, in our partners, every single day. This is just the beginning for us here at Spare. Right after this event, we're going to be hopping on what we call a Ask Me Anything session. This is actually the first time we've done anything like that. Josh and me will be there, and as well as a few other people from our team. We would love to see you there as well. Thank you, everyone.